exciting actually, because you wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and you go, oh, the lions are roaring. I wonder if we're going to find them tomorrow morning. What are they going to be doing? What are they doing now? Are they still going to be on our traverse area? It's fun. I know Brent has described it as the daily crossword puzzle that we do. It's our equivalent whenever we wake up in the morning and we go tracking. And I think that is a brilliant description of what it is that we do the first thing every single day. Now I want to try and puzzle out exactly when this male lion decided to pop out in this particular spot. If he is the same one that Brent is tracking, and if he was the same one that Brent was with this morning, we'll try and figure all of that out. But in the meantime, let's go and hear from the man himself how his tracking expedition has been going.
Well, the tracking expedition has not gone well, to be honest. I'm quite sure that male lion that Jamie's got is one in the same as the one I was looking for, and he's moved from where he was this morning. But there was a report of another male somewhere around here. And we're just going to have a quick look here, and then I've just had a report that that female leopard we saw this morning, a new female for us here at Safari Live, was left very close to our boundary, sort of 20 meters away from the boundary, having a snooze. I'm going to go have a look there. And of course, because it's World Elephant Day, I shall keep my eye out for any more elephants. Well done, Dewey Lane, you are spot on. The largest elephant ever recorded was from southern Angola. 11,000 kilograms, 11 tons, or about 24,000 pounds. He didn't have the biggest teeth, but he was a fatty. Now, that part of Angola, I know I didn't mention it on the sunrise safari, but it's so interesting for those of you who might have missed. Now, that part of Angola has been in war for many, many years. It hasn't for the last so, but the landmines were laid very willy-nilly without a plan. And for quite a few years, the elephants were really getting hurt by those landmines. But they learned to smell them out. So basically, when they walk through a minefield, the elephants single file, and they get through the minefield, they spread out and start feeding. And it's absolutely incredible that they do that. And apparently even villages in that area, if they want to pass through a minefield, they go only where the elephants have been. So very, very interesting. So I'm not 100% sure exactly where that leopard was left. So I'm just going to go very slowly from here. Keep checking on every termite mound. It's a favorite spot for a leopard to be lying in. Just going to see if I can get hold of yours. Yours. Yeah, very right. Oh, yours. I'm going to have a quick look for that Mafazi, Ingwe. How far west of the last position?
Yeah, she was west of the Arathusa line as well, right? West of that.
Oh, copy. So, confirm between Tumbuti and the Arathusa line?
Yeah, that's right.
Copy. I think they got her crossing back to Sibambili. I'm going to go just double check on those tracks.
Crossing at the transformer.
Firm. I'm just going to double check the tracks, make sure it's there. So, if that is her, she had walked an incredible distance. So, to give you an idea where she was this morning, if we look directly down this long road, so okay, so if we zoom down that road, along the road to the east, and right at the back we can see that green tree. That's where she was. So if she's crossed where they say they saw a leopard crossing earlier, that is about 8 8-9 kilometers, and it's unusual for a leopard to walk that far. It could be because she is looking for her own territory. She's just over 2 years old, so she's still nice and young, so she doesn't have a set territory yet. So apparently she must have walked all the way down here. So that young female, oh, I keep forgetting her name. What was her name again, Brian? Do you remember? Cheetah, I think. Yeah. Cheetah, there we go. James Richards wondering, is she a bit young to be going to Easter? Yes. She probably next year at the earliest. If she's only just over 2, maybe 3, but generally around 4 is a better bet. So we're going to go have a look. If she's gone, she's probably gone through here and then straight back towards her mom's territory. Now, her mom will probably tolerate her for quite a while still, even though I think she does have other cubs. But she is independent, so she is trying to find her own little niche. And it'd be very exciting. I would love it if she took this northern section of Djuma. Very pretty young female she was. Now, Brian, I think we've got another quiz coming, Brian. But I need your help for this quiz, Brian. Okay. So, how long did it take Brian to draw the elephant thumb? How long did it take Brian to draw the elephant thumb? And if you get it right, Brian will be very happy. And remember, send your answers through to questions at WildEarthTV or hashtag Safari Live. How long did it take Brian to create the elephant thumb? So while we try to figure out what's happening with this young female leopard, let's go back to Jamie, who's with the Birmingham Boy.
One very sleepy Birmingham Boy, and for now we have given up the best view in order to allow for some of the guests to have a slightly different position, and that's absolutely fine. Of course, we have got as much time as we want to spend with this particular cat, which is what we shall do. We'll just wait for them to spend some time in the sighting, enjoy a position close to his head, and then when everybody moves off, then we will shuffle in and have a nicer view once again. Those enormous paws of his. Aha! Okay, now we have an answer to the mystery that has been plaguing poor Dispatch and confusing me no end, which is why we've been referring to the lions as fuzzies. I'm having a little bit of a quiet chuckle here. Entirely valid question. We're not calling them fuzzies on the Game Drive comms, although I'm really, really tempted to start calling them fuzzies on the Game Drive comms now. But what we are saying is the opposite of what I was talking about when I said he is a Madoda or a Manona Ngala. We refer to them as Mafazi, M-A-F-A-Z-I, when we're talking about a female lion. And again, like Madoda, it is actually more like a lion woman, because Mafazi is a woman, a human woman, but it's something that has become incorrectly utilized and over time almost bastardized in terms of the way that we talk on the radio. So my apologies to Dispatch and to all of our other viewers who are convinced that we've been calling the lions fuzzies. Perhaps this is a misconception that some of you have had for a very long time. It is a Mafazi Ngala, and that means the female lions rather than the males. I really like the idea of calling them fuzzies now. Stations, I've got one fuzzy here. Lovely. I think that's a perfect way, and it's pretty descriptive, isn't it? With their manes around their heads. You know, there's so many things that we do absent-mindedly, and of course, because we spend so much time with our viewers, we start to take certain things for granted, and we also do certain things without realizing that we're doing them. And a lot of that is sort of typical game drive protocol that the normal guest wouldn't necessarily have any insight into. And then the other, of course, is ducking out of the way of the camera, which had one of our viewers convinced that we were perhaps terrified of the wild animals walking past or trying to hide away from them in some way, because every time we'd see them, we'd duck. And that, of course, is just to make space for the camera to move without getting our heads in the way, which we still do on a regular basis, and I think it frustrates the cameraman no end. And every now and again you get a gentle head shout to tell you to move. That our male lions tend to start to become more active earlier and earlier in the evenings. And hopefully, with the absence of any of his buddies around, he might decide towards the end of the sunset safari to start lifting his head and maybe even giving us one or two earth-shaking roars to contact call to the rest of his coalition. I think that the Nkuhumas are somewhere still on Djuma, but they definitely led us on a very merry dance this morning when we set out and about tracking them and trying to figure out exactly where it was that they had gone. Hi guys! Hello everybody! And we've just got Ephraim from Cheetah Plains joining us as well. And we're all having an opportunity to have a look at this lion. I'm going to talk nice and softly, especially because there are other people very close to us, which means that I just have to keep my voice down so as not to disturb their guest experience with this magnificent male. It's important to remember, and it is something I was taught when I was training as a guide, is that no matter how much time you spend with these animals, and fortunately for myself and for the rest of the guides working at Wild Earth, we've never had a major problem with getting bored or taking the animals for granted. But I was taught very early on that you never know where your guests have come from. You don't know what sacrifices they have made to get out on a holiday like this, or whether this has been a lifelong dream of theirs to see a male lion. And never underestimate, no matter how many times we see them, the power that a sighting like this has on people when they first come and visit. And then those massive paws that just yesterday he was using to batter about and fight back. Powerful, powerful weapons, the size of a man's hand, with cracked heels. One of the most incredible structures in a lion. When we were looking at a lion skeleton, there's a full lion skeleton at WildEarthTV Lodge, a lion that died of natural causes, that's been beautifully put together, all glued together, and I find it absolutely fascinating. One of the most fascinating things is, of course, that their sternum does not attach to their ribs at all, in the same way that ours does. And that in turn actually allows for all kinds of anatomical adaptations. One is the increased lung capacity, because of course the lungs, the ribs can expand further. The other allows for those deep bass roars, because it allows for the passage of a muscle that runs from the diaphragm to the larynx and pulls the larynx down, deepening the sound of those roars. And then of course also making space for those enormous meals, because the male lion is capable of eating close to 1/5 of its body weight in a day. An enormous amount of meat. If this chap probably weighs, the Birmingham Boys are quite small lions, I would guess at around 200 odd kilograms. So that would be 20 kilograms of meat easily in one sitting. Just in one sitting, that's not counting the 3 days that they may gorge themselves on a buffalo. They truly are extraordinary animals. And again, as I said, we will take an opportunity to reposition a little bit later, but first we're going to let the other guests have a chance to sit and enjoy the view of the front of his head. And the interesting thing about the Birmingham Boys, and Steph has a theory which I think is entirely valid, and probably is not just his theory, but he has a theory about the effect that the Mapocho coalition had on this area, and he says he feels as though the impact and the reign of the 6 Mapocho males that came in the sort of the 2000s is still being felt today. And he said it was because they had such an enormous influence over the area. They killed so many other males. They created such a vacuum in terms of male lions that Steph thinks that there's a whole shift in dynamics at play, even years and years later, after the Mapochos have long since been slowly, one by one, killed off by other lions. And it's an interesting point, and we see this effect with the Birmingham Boys now. They have this enormous territory that extends all the way from Mala Mala right up into close to Manuleti, probably into Manuleti as well, into Kruger. We have no idea how far it extends into Kruger, and then all the way towards Elephant Plains on the opposite side, and Simbombili, and I mean, it's just, their home range is absolutely enormous. It must equate to close to, I would guess, at 10,000 hectares, which is a huge amount. And what that means is, now that they have established themselves, and they have established themselves very, very effectively as the rulers of this area, they've had to they're constantly split up in terms of having to cover ground and mark and patrol those territories. And recently, what we've seen with them, because that was sort of the result about 5 months ago, but now things have totally changed, because now they've got cubs, and I think it feels to me as though they're spending time in a slightly smaller area, a smaller home range, that they are now patrolling and taking care of. And I think that's instinctively a sort of a tightening of the barricades, so to speak, around their cubs, both from the sticks and from the Nkuhumas, making sure to keep them safe. And it just goes to show how amazing the instinct of a male lion is, because that's not learned behavior. There's no way that they learned that was what was required of them to keep those cubs safe. It's pure instinct. And when they first arrived, they were almost bumbling and inexperienced, and filled with testosterone and quite a lot of aggression, which in the end resulted in the death of at least 2 Nkuhuma females that we know of. That was definitely caused by the Birmingham Boys, plus one of their sub-adult female cubs, which seems a bit short-sighted, because at this point her sister, who's now the youngest, no, not anymore, the youngest adult female of the Nkuhuma pride, is now ready to mate and is mating with the Birmingham Boys. But there was a great deal of chaos and discord when they first arrived, and they've definitely matured into responsible male lions, if one could call them that. Now, while our lion snoozes away, and while we wait for an opportunity to enjoy a slightly better view, let's jump onto the back with Brent and find out what he's been up to.
So we tracked that female leopard. She went all the way through the whole of Djuma and back into Sibambili. So unfortunately, she has vacated after a very brief visit. Hopefully she'll be back soon. What we're going to do now is those Ellies that were quite far from the road, I'm hoping that they moved out into the open. Oh, hello, big man. Beautiful big kudu bull. And the golden afternoon light.
Yeah, they came from the west this morning. He's taking back and forth. I'm going to my father. When I come out to the rest of them, I don't see much of the road. The elephant's gone to the Lala, heading east. They like moving around there. Always complain.
Right, sorry about that, just need to update Andrew on those lion tracks we were following earlier because he was wondering. So while I do that, let's have a look at the kudu. Andrew, yeah, those are the freshest corns are on Gari Cutline. They come in at the power lines, straight across quarantine, and then into the Shkova between Hyena and Gari Cutline. I've checked Hyena this morning and this afternoon. They haven't come out of that block yet.
Okay, couple things. Yeah, they should be around there.
Yeah, look at that. Disappearing kudu. Just showing you the tips of his magnificent horns. Sorry, Orbis. Negative orbs. It crossed it crossed quarantine from the power lines across Zoes. With my pimpans and my fuzz. Sorry about that. We're just trying to figure out where the Nkahumas have gone. So we're pretty sure they're in that little drainage system where we're unable to get a vehicle in, but it is getting later, so they could start moving. And we're going to hope that while we go try to find some elephants to sit for World Elephant Day, that a little bit later, the Nkahuma lionesses will be out and about and on the prowl with the cubbies. Well, we have answers to the thumb quiz, and I'm of course going to let the thumb himself tell and give the names as well.
Oh, the names.
Oh.
Names elude me, but yes, we had some correct
Jay
answers there.
Atkinson. I wasn't there we go. Jay Atkinson, I know, was one.
Trina. Dallas.
There we go. Well done. About 10 minutes.
Oh yes. All right.
Thanks. I was hoping those Ellies might have moved this way. Maybe they just haven't moved that far yet. We'll trundle back down towards my house, because they were just below it. Of course, we are very lucky with our elephants here in the Greater Kruger. There are very little pressure from human beings on them, and they're able to live a very natural life out here. But of course, in other parts of Africa, that's not the case. The second largest population of elephant in Africa has absolutely been decimated in the last 15 years, and that's southern Tanzania and northern Mozambique as well. Really major drops from over 100,000 to less than 30. Well, some people say even less than 20 at the moment. Of course, very important to celebrate these animals and enjoy the sightings we have with them, but we must remember that there are other parts of Africa where elephants are in plight. Quite a lot of the rainforest elephants in certain parts of the DRC, in Cameroon and Ivory Coast are all under massive pressure. Sorry, Impala. Robin would like to know, why would forest elephants be smaller than savanna elephants? There's not as much food available in the rainforest, and a lot of the food's very seasonal. Secondly, it's thick and hairy, so it's quite difficult if you were really massive to move through the forest easily. But the main reason is they don't have as much nutrient-rich food as the savanna elephants do. So the most nutrient-rich food, surprisingly out here, I think it might surprise a lot of you, is grass. And in the rainforest, there ain't much of that. it's also like you will find certain impala are larger in other areas than others. Obviously, they've been separated for so long that there has been some sort of obvious physical adaptations, like the downward facing trunks. And I've actually got a few pictures of forest elephants and all sorts to show you a little later on the safari. When it's a bit darker, we can see nicely. But very, very interesting that there are different species, but they're not, because they can breed and produce viable offspring. So it is just fascinates me. And I've been lucky enough to spend an incredible amount of time with both species. I've even had a mild disagreement with the forest elephant that I lost dismally. That was a long time ago. Again, everywhere. Cheers, guys. So, we're not going to go into that. It's World Elephant Day. We're celebrating them. But what I found, I was really lucky. The part of Central Africa I worked in Gabon, and in Drongo National Park, and there were, I mean, I've seen more than 300 elephants in a day there, and now I'm trying to remember the name now. What's that big swamp? Akaka, the Akaka swamp. So it's not really a swamp, it's the not the Gui River. Oh no, I can't remember the name of the river up there. No, I'll remember it just now. Basically, it's where a big river comes out of the rainforest into an estuary area, but it's very seasonal. So, I mean, you get over 1,400 mils of rain a year there. So the water level changes vastly. So in the wet season, it's about 3 meters or so deep. And then in the dry season, it just comes out of the river about this much, and then it gets grass. And it's the only time those forest elephants have access to really good grass, and lots of it. So you get them en masse descending on the Akaka swamps. And then when the wet season, when those swamps are full, you find them down on the coast. And it's incredible. You get to see elephants on a beach. Isn't that just amazing? And I got to see quite a lot of elephants on the beach. Where are those elephants? Have they moved past the house yet? Hopefully they haven't gone into the garden. Sometimes they do that. Naughty elephants. Now with the drought, that's why we're getting them in the gardens and that, if you leave the gates open, because there's just so little food out there. Now I'm sure a lot of you start wondering, why don't we provide some food or water to the elephants in this trying time? Well, we're in a natural we're in a natural system, and the elephant populations are quite high at the moment. This is nature's way of controlling those numbers. But there's an elephant. There's the elephants. And he's decided to go to the bush braai. Of course, he will not be eating, he'll probably be eating some roast veggies, what do you think? Or imagining roast veggies at least. Yay! More Ellies for World Elephant Day. Oh, hello, boys and girls. Let's have some shenanigans. That would be much appreciated. So there's a bull on the left and a cow on the right. And the cow is not too impressed with the young boy by the looks of things. I wish we could hear what they were saying. Now, you young man, you better behave yourself. I've had enough of your nonsense today. You're too young to be old and too old to be young. Start behaving like a big boy. Now, he's too young to possibly try and mate, and looks like she's lactating, so she does have a calf if I look at her teats. I think she was just giving him a talking to. Hey, mister. Probably mid-20s. Oh, does he look like he's got a bit of naughtiness in his step, Brian? I think so. Oh, she's going to get upset with you, mister. She's trying to get away from him. Now you can see even a young bull is much bigger than an elephant cow. Those poor impala that are just, oh, there we go. Oh, you can hear those tusks touching. Now, normally you see the sparring between males, but this young male is irritating and pushing this female. He's not in must, but she might be coming into estrus, or she's just given birth because it looked like she was lactating. So it could be that if she's recently given birth, or she's maybe even lost a baby, is stillborn during the drought, that all those hormones are confusing his scent. Now, elephants have to be, a female has to be in estrus and a male has to be in must to mate. Oh, it looks like they've stopped for a snack. Feeding in the little Terminalia grove. Oh, we're being stalked, Brian, by a young bull. Hello, naughty. You didn't think I saw you coming. And I'll go look sheepish next to your tree. So these young boys are wonderful. Valeria says she'd love to see Benjamin Button. Benjamin Button's a lovely little chap who looks very old, even though he's a little baby. But these young bulls are also good fun. You can see how he complete disregard for the vehicle. What he might do is have a little head shake when he gets right in front of us here. No, not even. Just going to keep walking. Hello, mister. What nonsense have you been up to in quarantine clearings? Oh, you see how he took a step back? That female who was being harassed literally just gave him a... Oh, what's she doing? She's having a scratch. Scratching behind her ear. She's got her ear along that branch. Oh, here we go. They look quite nice. Miss Lynn in North Carolina is wondering, do we have insurance in case Ellies damage our property? I don't know, do we, Brian? I'm not 100% sure. Yes. Oh, see, she's been... Look at that! This female has been annoyed by the bigger bull. Now, the thought of a second young bull around her is just too much. So she just chased that young bull, not even 4 or 5 feet from the front of our car. Wow, that was very cool. See how she bashed the tree to be more impressive. And now she's going to break that massive branch of the weeping wattle down. Hungry, Ellie. There's the scolded one. Oh, shame. The reason female elephants don't like bulls, particularly of that age, when they're still a bit smaller than them hanging around, is that their hormone levels are going crazy and they often cause a lot of havoc, especially with their young babies and stuff. Oh, chasing impala for fun. There we go. That's an elephant having fun. Let's chase an impala. The impala doesn't look too perturbed. I think they know they're quite fleet of foot and be able to escape from those Ellies. Now, quite often what will happen now is the elephant will pretend to feed and then turn around and charge again, but it doesn't look like it this time. Oh, oh. Now, Tasha's wondering, at what age do the bulls begin to mate? So they reach puberty, or sexual maturity, at about 14 years old, but they are only able to mate once they get to about 30, and that's just because of pure competition. The bigger bulls will not let the younger bulls mate till about that age, so only when they're over 30 are they big enough and strong enough to compete for females. Oh, I think we might see the next big branch. There we go. Watch this. We nearly pushed it on the female. Oh, it's going to land on the female's head. Yes. Oh, just missed. Incredibly powerful animals. So Shamsam's wondering, do they just mate once or multiple times? It depends, Shamsam. Sometimes just once, but the female normally mate with multiple bulls. But I have seen a male mate with the same female multiple times as well. Munching, munching, munching. Let's try and get a little bit of a better view. Oh, keep an eye on that little one at the back there, Brian. I think looked like it was stalking impala again. Oh, look at that. Elephants in beautiful golden light. And our shadow. Now, of course, it is very fitting that we sit here and spend time with elephants on World Elephant Day. Now, another World Elephant Day quiz for everyone out there. How much dung can an elephant bull produce in a day? How much dung can an elephant bull produce in a day? We see how much they can eat, so obviously there have to be quite a lot of leavings. And if you know that answer, send your answers through to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. How much dung can an elephant produce in a day? Our beard's wondering, do the small antelopes like impala get any protection from hanging out around elephants? Yes and no, but quite often the panic that's ensued when an elephant comes across a predator or whatnot, they can have misdirected aggression, so they'll chase almost everything around. So quite often, because there's such pandemonium, that the poor impala often gets eaten. I've seen it with wild dogs many times. Isn't that just lovely light, Brian? Hi, Aaron in New Zealand. Aaron's wondering, what is the biggest tree I've seen an elephant push over? Let's try have a look for something about the same size around us. Nothing really. Probably about 30 or 40 centimeters wide. 10 or 15 meters high. So about as high as that tree in front of the elephant bull. Actually, no, quite a bit higher than that tree, but about probably double or triple the circumference. See, now what's happened is that big bull, or the bigger bull, and that cow have pulled down that weeping wattle, and now one of the smaller ones, it wouldn't have been able to reach that. The leaves has made its way here to come enjoy the fruits of others' labor. It is just such a peaceful thing, sitting and spending time with elephants. Oh, I've got our first answer in. 165 pounds of dung. And it's about 160 kilograms of dung, which is over 340 pounds. 350 pounds of dung a day for an adult elephant bull. Yum, 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 little one. Oh, there you go. He's taking the whole branch with him. Hi, Trevor, who's a brand new viewer at Safari Live. Welcome, Trevor. Great to have you with us. Trevor would like to know, can people actually ride elephants, or is that just in the movies? It is possible, Trevor, but unfortunately, to get an elephant tame enough for a human being to ride it, you have to treat them very badly. So you have to make that massive animal petrified of you. So it's not a good thing to ride elephants. The ways to train an elephant involve very cruel methods from a young age. Mahout sticks, is sharpened sticks that they stab under their feet or into their toes, or hooks that they hook behind their ears, and so it's not very nice. Elephants are best left doing exactly what these ones are doing, munching away and completely wild. Now, if you're lucky enough to spend as much time with elephants as we are, you'll often notice a little bird. And so it's not an oxpecker. The oxpeckers can't spend any time with elephants because they get swatted by that trunk. But there we go. The forked-tailed Drongo, one of the flycatcher species and an incredible opportunist. They'll follow the elephant herd around, catching any insects that the herd disturb as they walk or they feed. Now you can see he's going to twist that branch in his mouth to remove the bark where the nutrients lie. Oh, he's done with that one. Or is he just finding a new spot? Hi, Liz. Liz is wondering whether gardeners in Africa have ever used elephant dung as fertilizer. Yes, they have, including my mother. That's just so wonderful. I'm so happy we've got these Ellies on World Elephant Day. So Kawhi is wondering, do wild elephants eat peanuts? In some parts of Africa where they raid peanut farmers, and the peanut farmers don't like elephants very much, but they would if they found them, but there are no indigenous growing peanuts in this area. And here comes a little an even smaller one, about 2 years. Oh, she might break. She's going to break the branch again. There we go. Oh, I thought she was going to pull down the big branch. No, she's decided against it. Oh, here we go. Maybe it's a bit too... Oh, it shouldn't be too big for her. Oh, here comes trouble. Hello, little monster. Hugh Cat is wondering, are Indian elephants more docile than African? And not as far as my understanding. I just think there are more of them in captivity. But I wouldn't say they're more docile. They are smaller, though. Oh, look at that power. Absolutely demolishing that weeping wattle. Now, in a non-drought year, it's not a tree you would see the elephants eat too often, but because it's one of the only evergreens left, they're taking advantage of it. We're going to keep sitting with our elephants for World Elephant Day, but let's go see how Jamie's faring with the big male lion.
And what a lovely way to spend the afternoon, but with elephants on World Elephant Day. I've gone in completely the wrong direction, so bear with me. Sorry, everybody. We have left the lion for now. There are lots and lots of people that would like to come and see him. And now we have to toss up between whether or not we try and get back towards Tingana. It sounds as though he hasn't left his spot right up in the tree. Or if we return to the male lion and see what he's up to throughout, or as evening starts to draw in. Just wave hello to everybody. Making space so that they can go in and enjoy the lion sighting. Oh, trying to call myself out of that sighting, but unfortunately the radio is currently occupied. I figured we might as well go and check Red Dam again. I don't really want to go too far away from that male lion. I want to try and stay with him. So I figured we'd go and check the only other water source in the area, see what's happening there, and then return to our male lion as it starts to get a little bit cooler and once everybody else has had a chance to see him as well. And speaking, of course, of water, and the question that immediately jumps to everybody's mind, we've got lion tracks there. Female leopard, I think that might have been the one that Brent was tracking. Sorry, VM's just picked up on female leopard tracks. Let's just go and double check. And then we'll come back to the question that we have on the subject of the drought. I wish I was taller sometimes, I really do. I have no idea what VM's looking at. Okay, perfect. Alright. I 100% trust VM's assessment. He says they're not looking very fresh. And I am sold on that. Right, sorry, to Lisa's question, which is, are there any predictions as to when this drought will end? Our rainy season should start in around October. October, November is usually when we get the first big rains. October is, even on a normal year, usually quite a brutal month out here. It's when it starts to get exceptionally hot. It's after the long months of the natural dry season, because naturally we don't have much rain in winter as it is. October is going to be particularly bad this year, I feel. Now that we've had we didn't even have a proper rainy season, and now we're coming out of our dry season as well. And the temperatures also tend to skyrocket well over 30 degrees centigrade, so 86 Fahrenheit, and stay in that region. I don't know when the drought is going to end. I don't think anybody knows. There are some that are predicting there's about a 50% chance that we're actually going to have some enormous rain in November and December, but we'll just have to wait and see if that does actually happen. On our lovely World Elephant Day, let's go back to our elephants and watch a tender scene between mom and calf.
And lovely late afternoon light seeping from the western horizon. Now, Mom's moving off with baby in tow. Oh, she's found something on the way. A little snack. What is she feeding on there? Looks like an acacia. Hello, Gracie. Gracie's 8 years old, and she says, Happy Elephant Day to all my elephant friends. Well, I'm sure they're wishing you a happy day, Gracie. We know how happy elephants make you. So I'm so excited to share these elephants with you. And Gracie's also wondering, is there Hippo Day? And it's on February the 8th. I did not know that. But there's also another special day coming up in August, and it is since the elephants... Oh, sorry, it's the 15th of February, not the 8th. But there's another special day coming in August. And since the elephant's got a day, the lion's got a day, and the hippo even gets a day. And we've decided that the killer bees need a day, and we've decided the date is the 28th of August, which also happens to be International Bow Tie Day. So the killer bees will be in bow ties, causing all sorts of shenanigans with the letter B on the Killer Bee Day. Hello, mister. You're going to come have a look at us? What you might do is move that dead branch to get to some of the grass that might be hiding underneath it. Or you can just sneak his trunk through. No. Okay. Here we go. See, he's moving the dead branch. There's some grass that's managed to survive out of the other animal's reach under the dead thorny branch. But thorns mean nothing to an elephant. Hi, River. River's 9 years old. And River says, please can we have a test for the kids too? The other quizzes are just too hard. Brian, you're going to help me come up with a kids quiz.
I can.
Oh, so Brian's going to help me. I know. Should we do a... Oh, here we go. I'll be with you in a second. It looks like you might push down that... I was thinking about pushing down that cluster leaf. And he decided to have a patch of grass at the bottom instead. Thinking about it. Are you going to push over another tree for us, big boy? Oh, there we go. There's mischief in that walk, and you can see the female reacts immediately, trying to get away from him. She's trying to move away slowly without him noticing her disappearing. If you hear, so River would like a kiddie's test. Okay, River, coming at you. What do you think, Brian? Any ideas? I think I know. River, how did an elephant get its long trunk? So this is a kid's test. How did an elephant get its long trunk? And I'm hoping a lot of you out there have read Rudyard Kipling's Just So stories. How did an elephant get its long trunk? So there we go for the kids. So help the kids send their answers through to questions at WildEarthTV or hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. You can see the pink hue in the sky. The sun has actually disappeared behind our western horizon, and the temperature dropped so suddenly. It's quite chilly all of a sudden. And we are feeling happy and fuzzy and warm inside, spending time with our favorite elephantine friends on World Elephant Day. Well, I know Jamie's been checking all around Arathusa, So let's go see if she's found anything at Red Dam.
It's safe to say not much has changed at Red Dam. It seemed the most sensible spot to go and check since it was right close to where that male lion was lying up, and I didn't, as I said, want to get too far away from him. The only thing that's changed at the moment is that the hippo has shifted his position slightly and has moved more into the center of the dam. But other than that, all seems to be quiet here. No surprise leopards, as has happened before at Red Dam. And just, I think, the evidence of that buffalo. Remember we had that extraordinary scene a couple of, when was it? Must have been about 10 days ago, I can't even remember anymore, where we had the buffalo and the dead buffalo in the dam, with the hyenas feeding off it, and then the vultures, probably close to 100 or so vultures, gathered around. And I think that was the remnants of the buffalo. And then we've got some fork-tailed drongos fluttering about as well. One of my favourite birds. Natural mimics of the bush and also thoroughly entertaining. They punch very much above their weight, fork-tailed drongos. They're quite aggressive little birds, but they're also very, very courageous. And they're not afraid of it. Keeping you guessing, Liam. Awesome. They're natural acrobats of the sky. What's there that you want? Okay, moving off now. They are the natural acrobats of the sky. Which means they keep our cameramen on their toes, and at the same time they also know that they can tackle bigger birds, things like raptors or birds of prey. I mean, look at this one, ducking and diving. I wonder what he's after, he or she. Putting on an amazing display for us. Thought perhaps it was trying to catch some insects, perhaps mosquitoes, hovering above the surface of the water. I do remember the last time Liam and myself were sitting here at Red Dam and the mosquitoes were starting to gather, so perhaps that's what it's after. And as it starts to heat up, the mosquito larvae are growing bigger and bigger and increasing at a rate of knots, and we're seeing more mosquitoes now as we start to get into warmer temperatures. And I think that might be what our fork-tailed drongo is doing. So we can't see what he's after, but there's clearly something because that drongo is going fluttering up and down. I've just got an update on Tingano. He's now moved off the tree and is lying at the base of the tree, which means that for us, unfortunately, even if we were to go back there, we probably wouldn't be able to see terribly much of him. So I'm going to keep listening to the Game Drive comms, and if he does decide to move closer onto Arathusa, perhaps come and have a drink, then I'll be one of the first to know and we'll come straight back to this area. But for now, we're going to slowly trundle back towards that male lion. The sun has set and things are starting to calm down. My mic doesn't want to behave today, is that better? VM says that I must just check my mic. I don't know what's going on. It seems to be okay, all okay on my side. Our dispatch griffin, speaking of waterholes, dams and pans, again, something that we often take for granted and we don't always explain to our newer viewers. There is a difference. This is just by the way, this is Red Dam. Red Dam is in fact pumped. So this water is brought up from underground and pumped for the animals to come and drink because we are in such a drastic situation with the drought. A pan is made, well, it's a difficult one because it can be man-made as well, but a pan is generally smaller than a dam and a lot of the time is a natural thing. So Brent was showing you a mud wallow at the start of the sunset safari, and what often happens is warthogs rub themselves in the mud, then buffalo come along and make it bigger, and rhino and elephant make it even bigger. And then you get to the point where it fills up naturally with water during the summer months, and that becomes a natural pan. But it's slightly smaller than a dam. Both of those things we would refer to as water holes, although generally the dams are more of a water hole than the muddy pans are. Galago pan and Voyatella pan are both artificial. The ones near the lodges, those are both artificial. However, they are, because of their size, we refer to them as a pan. So there you go, just a little bit of an explanation behind our different usage and different terms. While we trundle slowly back towards the line, find out if there's now space for us to rejoin that sighting, let's head back to Brent and his pachyderms.
So we're still sitting with these wonderful elephants, just enjoying a peaceful moment. Absolutely incredible creatures. Well done to Hannah, who's 9 years old. And in South Africa, Hannah has got the kids' quiz correct. It is indeed a crocodile. Pulled his nose long. So an elephant used to have a short nose. And one day on the banks of the great... Can you remember the rhyme, Brian?
To a degree.
To a degree. I think I remember. On the banks of the great grey, green, greasy Limpopo, all beset with fever trees. And they went down for a drink. And the little elephant, got his nose bitten by a crocodile, and he pulled and he pulled and he pulled, and to get away his nose became long. So that's how they got their longer nose. And I must say, the Just So stories are incredible, wonderful collections of kids' stories about Africa by Rudyard Kipling. Look at that incredible strength. I mean, almost no effort whatsoever. Just get us into a bit of a better spot where he's not hiding behind a tree. How's that, Brian? Oh, monkey's alarm calling at Philemon's Dip. So we are going to leave our pachyderm friends. I think it could be Queen Karula in that area. Bye, Ellies. Happy World Elephant Day. We'll see you later. So monkeys are one of the best ways to find cats. If they're shouting, it means they've definitely spotted something. Be careful, Impala. Karula could be on her way.
Standing by.
What do you think it is, Brian? What could it be? Guys, I'm hoping it's Karula, but of course, it could be any other leopard. And we're having all these females popping up. It could be not Tingana, because we know where he is. So we're going to race down here, and we're going to just stop as we get down there to listen, or see if we can spot those monkeys and see where they're looking. Okay. It sounded like a round weaver's nest somewhere. There could be another male lion. It could be the Nkahoma ladies on the hunt. But it's almost certainly a big cat.
I'm having a shut down here. Yours is place. Okay, so you're looking.
There they are. Where they're looking. Top of the tree. Where they're looking. Other side. Okay. There we go. While we go figure out exactly where those monkeys are looking, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
While Brent races off to see what those monkeys have spotted, we have arrived at our male lion, and I'm very glad that we arrived when we did arrive, because it seems as though he's been left all alone. And it's a good thing that he hasn't moved away, because he would have proven to be, or he might have proved to be, relatively difficult to find once again. But here he is, still lying up, looking thoroughly peaceful. What are you planning this evening, mister? Let's stop here for a slightly different view of his face. What are your plans for the evening? So far, I don't think that he's moved terribly much. Standard lion behavior on an afternoon like this afternoon. And just look at those scars all over his face. I'm just going to take my earpiece out for one moment. I thought I heard alarm calls. I'm just going to double check. I'm not sure where Brent's following up on those alarm calls. So I'm just going to listen. I hear something, but it's not alarm calls. Might have been a vehicle or vehicle noise. No, it's all gone quiet. Okay, false alarm. I thought that I did hear something. Pop my earpiece back in so that I can hear all of your wonderful questions. We were in the process where I was busy talking about how beautifully battle-scarred he is. And I always think it makes the male lion look so incredibly interesting. There's the stories behind every scar and every cut. And he gives us a really nice opportunity to, first of all, examine the colour variation that's happening just on his face and on his mane. He's starting to go, the manes of all of the Birmingham boys are starting to go slightly darker now. There is a noticeable difference, there's a huge difference between when they first arrived and now. And I'd actually love to get hold of some of the screenshots. I must go back and look for screenshots of each of them, sort of a before and after. Those first days when they arrived, all clean and no scars and beautiful blonde manes, very pretty lions, to the way that they look now, which is older, wiser, and with a lot of experience and stories to tell. And it might be very interesting to actually have a look at the before and the after. Now I found, as social media has been doing, I found somebody's screenshot from a year ago popped up on my Facebook, as social media does, with the Matimba male lions. A year ago, or just over a year ago now. And it seems like so much has happened since that tumultuous time. There he's got a bit of a fresh scar on the right-hand side, or the sort of the top part of his nose. Slightly fresher than the others, and I think that may well have been from the other morning. I seem to remember one of the male lions came out with an injury there. And just an update, we know that one of them moved around. There were 3 of them with us yesterday morning. One of them is now here. The other is on Mala Cheetah Plains boundary, so around there. And then there's some more separated somewhere off on either on Djuma or on Buffelshoek. So they are really incredibly spread out. He is basically on the western fringes of their territory. The other is all the way on the eastern fringes, and then the other 2 somewhere in between. So it's exactly what we were talking about before in terms of the level that they've been separated. And I'm sure at some point, I'm being hopeful now, at some point he is going to give us a display of a lion's roar. And we spoke about the fact that it wakes us up at night and that we're not complaining. But there's nothing more spectacular than having a lion calling right next to your vehicle. The sound travels through you. The bottom of the car vibrates, your chest vibrates. And whenever I had guests with me and we had a male lion doing that next to a vehicle, roaring next to a vehicle, I used to make them turn off all of their lights. And one of my guests, who has since become a very good friend, her very first experience with that, we turned off all the lights, and the next thing I knew, she'd moved from the passenger seat, which was closer to the lion, to basically sitting in my lap out of sheer terror. But at the same time, she then went home, packed up, sold her business, and came back out here and is now living in South Africa. So part of that definitely had an effect on her life, a major, an enormous effect on her life. And something else that we can talk about just while we've got this close view of his face, which is aging male lions, or aging lions. And it will start to answer Tasha's question, but before we get on to that, have a look at the black line of his mouth. So aging lions, one of the things that starts to happen once they reach about 7 or 8 years old, and you'll see it on the Matimba males, but not so much on the Birmingham boys, is that they start to droop. They get jowly, I think is probably the best way to describe it. They lose elasticity, so that black bit at the bottom starts to sort of get floppy and loose. Now we're looking at his nose, which is also darkened, which also darkens with age in most lions, although it is possible to have a lion whose nose doesn't change color completely. Oh, excuse me. Lost my voice there for a second. Noses start to darken with age, but as I said, you will occasionally get a lion with a pink nose throughout their entire lives. And then, of course, we get to the mane and the growth of the mane. And Tasha wants to know at what age will a male lion's mane start to darken. The answer is it's not defined. So it depends, first of all, on the area that they're in, and it depends, secondly, which is connected to their genetics. In certain areas, male lions' manes grow faster and darken faster. In this particular area, it seems as though, at least for the Birmingham boys with their genetic stock, that it was around 5.5 that their manes have started to properly darken. Oh my goodness, we have a head up. What have you seen, boy? Or heard, perhaps? Something has attracted his attention. Can you give it 1 second and then reposition? Just want to see what he's looking at. Amazing how they go from fast asleep to intently focused in a split second. What's there, boy? He might even be hearing roars that I can't hear with my human ears. It's distinctly possible, of course, because his hearing is so much better than ours. And it's starting to get a bit darker and a bit cooler. Hopefully he will decide to start to move. Oh, we've got a very good sign. We've got a yawn. Now, generally, when lions start to yawn. Okay, we're going this way, are we? Fair enough. When lions start to yawn and lick their feet, it often is an indicator that they're about to move. And he's giving us a perfect demonstration now by moving. He might just be getting up to relieve himself, but let's just check. Let's just make sure. That is magnificent. I'm stopping here just to let him decide where he's going to go. Intense, that look. Wow, that was a very intense look. Huh. And that is that. Isn't he absolutely stunning? He's very intimidating at this level because he's sort of eye level with us, which makes him, particularly since we are straight in his eye line, that stare is truly impressive. And he's not giving me looking down on the ground. And as much time as we get to spend with them, every now and again they give us they just give us a reminder of how truly powerful they are and how wild they really are. And that look was one such example, staring straight into my eyes. And eye contact is important with animals. There's a lot of things that are passed by a lot of messages that are passed through the eyes. And for animals that rely purely on visual communication, they can't speak to each other, it plays a very, very important role, which is why you find yourself, if you're ever standing down a lion charge, which hopefully you never will have to do, eye contact is essential. But it's an incredible feeling when they're staring right into your eyes. There is an intensity about that I cannot begin to describe. Wow. How is that? Hannah, it's lovely to have you on board. Hannah is 9 years old and a fellow South African. And Hannah, I hope that throughout your life you'll be able to have lots and lots of opportunities to come and either visit us here in the Sabi Sand or go to the Kruger National Park or any one of South Africa's amazing game reserves. Hannah actually wants to know how long a lion can live for. It depends if it's a boy or a girl. For the male lions, their lives are relatively stressful and they tend to have slightly shorter lifespans than the females, usually around, the average is about 11 years old. They can live older than that, but the average is sort of 11 years old, because often what happens when a male lion gets old, he doesn't necessarily die of old age, but he's actually chased and weakened by other male lions. Females can live a little bit longer. He's seen something. Awesome. How amazing is that? Sorry, Hannah, your question got interrupted, but that was absolutely amazing. Beautiful. Hannah? And then the females, sorry, to get back to, we'll talk about the lion roaring in a moment, but let me just finish Hannah's question. The females can live up to 14 or 15, even up to 16 years old, but that's very old for a wild lion. Well, most lions, of course, in captivity will live a little bit longer, but our wild lions have tough lives that they lead. I'm going to reposition. And I'm actually going to go just a little bit around so that we can get a nice view fully of him. And also so that I'm less, I don't know, he's just giving me, his tail's not thrashing. Just the way that he's looking at us suggests to me that he would prefer it if we just repositioned ever so slightly. He might even give us another roar, so I'm going to do it quickly. But while we do, let's go over to Brent quickly.
So we were close to where those monkeys were alarming, and we got here really quickly, but it's just this really difficult time of the day to spot something. And we're searching around here. It's too light for a spotlight, too dark for good normal vision. And the monkeys are generally looking in this direction, so we're going to keep going up Rebecca's rod. And sometimes the monkeys can see them from hundreds of meters away. I haven't seen any tracks yet either. I'm really sure it must have been a leopard in the area, more than likely Karula. Gives us something to look for on the sunrise safari. Unless we find it in the next few minutes. But I think since it's World Elephant Day, it's time to show you some incredible things. So I went and did a little snoop around. Well, yeah, this is just more fun than anything else. Look at that. That's me filming forest elephants in Gabon in a swamp. There we go. And one last picture before we head back to that line. I wanted to show you the largest elephant tusks ever recorded, and they were from Tanzania. But there we go, look at that. So over 10 feet long, weighing 250 pounds, this one, and about 240 the other one. There we go. amazing animals, elephants. But speaking of other amazing animals, and from Brian and myself on Elephant Day, let's go back to a male lion on the move.
Love that sound. It's such an incredible sound. Let's stay with him for the last few moments of the sunset safari. We'll stick with him. Oh, thorns. Oh, VR rig. Thorns and VR rig. VR rig is now in a guarri bush. Thorns, guarri bush. Thorns, guarri bush. There we go. Now, there's nothing like the feeling of a male lion roaring right next to one's vehicle, as I said before, and I'm so glad that he decided to give you that demonstration before it got too late and we finished off with our sunset safari. This, of course, is why throughout the year we change the times of our safaris to match the sunrise and the sunsets, because it's the best time to view these incredible animals when they're at their most active. Now that I'm looking at him, standing up, he is very hungry. He hasn't eaten in a while. There we go again. Come on, boy. One more. Contact call. Do you feel that through your feet, Viam? It's incredible. It really is. It's such a fantastic feeling. The power behind that call. Let's take the light down for now. I have this memory of the Birmingham Boys when they first arrived here, all 5 of them calling around the Mahindra. I took some of the staff out to go and see them after we finished one of our sunset safaris, and we all went to go see the male lions, and all 5 of them on quarantine started roaring together, and I must say it's one of the most spectacular experiences I've had out here in the bush. Waiting patiently for the response of the other lions, whether it be females or males. And those first few soft calls were contact calls before the full-bodied roar came out. It's almost like a warm-up session before releasing the real thing. Absolutely, does give one chills to hear something like that. It never gets old. So yes, perhaps this male will wake us up tonight with his calls. I don't think we will begrudge him that, though. It's a magical sound. There is nothing else on earth that is like it. And whilst today is World Elephant Day and we've had some amazing moments spent with Brent and those elephants, Our male lion giving us not a reminder, I don't think any of us need a reminder, but certainly just a little insight into just how special all of the animals are out here in South Africa and within Africa. The wildlife is simply outstanding, and that applies across the globe. But for us, our passion is here in the African bush. To spend it with a male lion for the last few moments is truly special. Come on, boy. You've got 2 minutes. 2 minutes to give us one more call. Come on. You can see the focus that he's looking off into the distance, waiting to hear back. That was the sort of human equivalent of a missed call. Now he's waiting for somebody to answer him. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. The grace and the power of that body. You can see how hungry he is, the flap of skin. Tonight he will be hunting, or looking for the females to steal food from. One more roar. He's been spotted already by some kudu. There we go. And now we are coming to the end of our sunset safaris. I'm going to do a very quick thank you because I think he's going to roar again and I don't want to talk over it. So thank you to VM as well as to Kirsty and Rebecca in Final Control. And a huge thank you to all of you watching across the globe. I'm getting the thank yous out of the way because he's going to call for us again. We're going to let him walk off into the darkness at the end of our sunset safari. Come on, boy. Little piddly contact calls. There we go. An end of another stunning sunset safari. A beautiful evening out here in the African bush, and a wonderful way to end off another day. We'll see you tomorrow on the sunrise safari, but for now, goodbye and farewell, and I hope that you had a marvelous time.